As we look through the satellite images recently, the MODIS image on your left, we can see that the Northeast has gotten some real clean, dry air from Canada. We did have quite a bit of haze showing up with even smoke from the fires in Alaska and Western Canada in the past month. The image on the right, the GOES image, is showing the water vapor imagery, and we have a system coming in from the north later today, a cold pocket aloft bringing showers and thunderstorms across the area. The service highlights the last 30 days. The precipitation I have plus and minus normal, pretty close to within an inch above or an inch below normal across the Northeast, as seen on the Northeast Regional Climate Center maps. A little bit wetter out in southern New York, central New York, and the New York City water supply area. Temperatures basically close to normal the last month, except we did have some below normal temperatures across the northern New England, northwestern New York, 2 to 3 degrees below normal. When we look at the 90 and 180-day precipitation departures, on the left you see the 90-day, quite an extensive area of eastern New England down into the New York City area. We were anywhere from 2 to 6 inches below normal precip. Well, as central New York into northern Vermont, we were actually above normal in the precip category. The map on the right, the 180-day precip, again, we show this departure of precipitation across much of New England. 2015 is about the time we started with the heavy snow in Boston. And as we had mentioned in the past, all that deep snow came with precipitation amounts that were below normal. The USA Drought Monitor this morning, on the left is the graphic that just was updated, July 21st. On the right was June. You can see that much of the abnormally dry area in the graphic has been erased, with only less than 10% of the current area in the Northeast experience this abnormally dry condition from the long-term precipitation departure. The small inserted maps below here are the crop moisture index and the Palmer drought index, which is pretty close to normal. And of course, the CPC seasonal drought outlook till the end of October graphic on the left is the current graphic, and we have just about all the drought was removed, and coastal Maine drought removal is likely there also. So those conditions have improved. Our USGS Real-Time Streamflow Conditions, the 7-day average streamflow across much of the Northeast is normal to above normal in central western New York into northern Vermont. A big recovery from later May and early June when we were way below normal. Current groundwater conditions, similarly, many normal to western New York groundwater readings, sporadic below normal gauges. I've shown here an area southwest of Albany where the New Paltz groundwater gauge is diving through normal right now, dropping through normal. And I'm showing this area because it's in something called the Norman's Hill Formation of shale and silts. And that area southwest of Albany had a landslide on the Norman's Hill River. This is a little bit southwest of there, but you can see back in the spring they had record high groundwater levels for quite a few weeks. This here is an experimental product from the NASA Mosaic and the Ensemble NOAA land surface models, soil moisture conditions. Basically, the top graphic is looking at the top 1 meter of the soil, the bottom graphic, the total soil column. And basically what I'm showing here is either normal or slightly above normal soil moisture anomalies in millimeters through the area. This product here is also going to be used in the new Wharf hydro model. Water supply and lake levels, New York City system, we're actually above normal. Current is 95% capacity, normal is 89. Looking at the rainfall in June, double the amount of normal, so they're in good condition. Quabbin Reservoir, Situate, about normal, and here is Lake Champlain sitting almost 2 feet above normal for this time of July. So the lake's pretty good condition across the Northeast. Our deterministic forecast, weather.gov/NERFC, showing no flooding. But we do have Cayuga Lake, which is at the alert stage. It's been at alert of flooding for the past 6 weeks. And then our Met Model Ensemble forecast system have also less than 30% chance of reaching action levels. One exception, it's a graphical exception. We looked at it this morning. Stevenson Dam is operating below alert stage. Now, if we look ahead the next week to 2 weeks, we see a trend of above normal temperatures and basically normal to below normal precipitation in both weeks. I have on here, we are watching the southeast USA for any development there with an old cold frontal systems that go into that area this time of year have to go watched. On the 48-hour QPF, we have 2 systems moving through the northeast in the next 2 days, dropping anywhere from trace amounts in the south up to half to 3/4 of an inch in some of the northern areas. And the Weather Prediction Center graphic on the right, the 7-day precipitation through the northeast, is pretty close to normal, with cold fronts slowing down across the area. You can see that big bulb of precipitation down in the southeast USA that has to be watched. The outlooks from CPC, 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day. On the left graphic are the 6 to 10 above normal temperatures, and they're calling for below normal precip. And the 8 to 14 day, still normal to above normal temperatures, and normal to slightly below normal precipitation. I took another look at the climate model, the CFS version 2, and on the left here we have the week 3 and 4 temperature anomalies, and you can see it's actually expecting through this model a cool period sometime in the first week, the second week of August, cooler than normal. But on the right 2 graphics, the CFS version 2, week 3, 4 precipitation, still below normal to normal across much of the northeast. CPC August and August-September, October outlooks, basically normal to above normal temperatures and normal to below normal precipitation. A quick look at the latest forecast for the ENSO El Nino, as Dave Valley brought out in the last briefing we had a month ago, how important this El Nino could be to precipitation in the next spring, seasonal precipitation. We're looking at a 3 to 6 month period of 2.0 in the Nino region's 3.4 anomaly. So that's indicating as a strong El Nino by the dynamic average models. Now we look at the surface map of July 28th. You can see very weak systems across the northeast, frontal system moving through the northeast with hit or miss convection. The 500 millibar, 20,000 foot chart, we're in a slight broad trough across the northeast, nothing exceptional, cut off from any moisture in the south temporarily. As we look out towards the first weekend and week of August, a couple of frontal systems you can see slowing down in the northeast as Bermuda High tries to nudge into the western Atlantic, very typical of early August. We have these systems slow down with a chance of convection. And the 500 millibar is really the trough axis is shifted out into the center of the country, Ohio Valley, and we'll have to watch the connection from the southeast U.S., possibly up the East Coast, for any mischief. Okay, I thought I'd end this with some information about hurricane season, and David Valley's here if you have any questions on it. As we know, the Hurricane Center is saying there's a 70% chance of a below normal season in the Atlantic. And on the right here, this graphic, the main development region, because of the shear, vertical wind shear and upper level winds blowing east, it's going to limit some big development there. But they have this other area in the southeast part of the U.S. into the northeastern Gulf with possible weaker vertical wind shear, which means it's actually a little bit more favorable area for development that we'll be looking at. We're also looking at the sea surface temperatures. The Gulf Stream, the threat of the Gulf Stream is poor south of the 40-70 benchmark. But we've got temperatures south of New England on the coastal areas already in the mid-70s. So slightly above normal temperatures on the south coast of New England. And the image on the bottom is Claudette, which was a high latitude formation of the sea storm this year. Before the questions here, I have a graphic I want to show you. The red on this graphic is the Saharan dust layer and dry air coming off of Africa. And I want you to look at the waves that are coming west. They're trying to enter that high development region, and they're getting totally blown apart by wind shear and dry air. So that's an interesting feature that usually happens in July, and it's supposed to continue much of the season. And you can look at the 2-day and 5-day products here, these graphical tropical weather outlooks from the National Hurricane Center this year. Another product we look at is this total precipitable water satellite-derived imagery. And the color coding here is just the opposite. The dark blues are very dry, and you can see that very dry air mass coming over the New England area the last couple of days. And the plumes of high precipitable water are in the dark orange. You can see that the intertropical convergence zone is really suppressed south from the Africa to South America area at this time. But as Dave is saying, the Bahamas are loaded with moisture, and this is what Dave showed us this morning. And we talked about that southeastern part of the country being an area for old frontal systems to kind of stall out and formation with weak shear aloft. The European model is showing a development here at the end of July. And what it does, it brings up a significant system just south of New England on August 2nd. Now, we realize this is just one model, so we have one eye looking at it right now for the next week or 10 days, and this is going to change many times, but there is that signal there. Similar to what happens in the onset of a strong El Nino season on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's not uncommon historically up here in the Northeast for us to at least have a close call with a tropical system going into these big ENSO events. Hurricane Bob 1991, of course, is probably the bigger of the bunch. Another system that formed in a similar fashion was in 1976 on August 9th with Hurricane Bell that came up across Long Island. So that's why Ed's kind of beginning to tease this out. We're seeing it in the models. We're certainly seeing the background state with an ENSO growing as being, one of the pieces on the old chessboard. So just folks to not completely fall asleep with such a below normal season anticipated. But if you're going to get something to form, at least over the next several weeks, it'd be either the Gulf Coast or it would be off the southeast U.S.
Okay, and with that, we'll wrap it up. Any questions for any of us today? Okay. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you again in a month, if not sooner.
Briefing. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, George.